Welcome to Monday Night Live, the weekly training that guides professionals to financial prosperity. Join our community and let's start building your wealth.
So guys, my name is Dana Truman. I'm in Bridgeton, Maine right now, about 35 miles northwest of Portland. If you know where Freiburg Academy is, it's the next town over. Go further, then you're in New Hampshire, Conway, North Conway. So I'm actually with Keller Williams Commercial. I'm not a resi guy anymore, but I was for a long time. And but that's where I'm at. And this room has trains and ham radio gear. So if you want to talk trains and ham radio, we can do that later. I'm 63 and I got a 9-year-old son who's a train nut. So I kind of spoil him. As far as what I have for this evening, rather than just blab a lot, it's more a Q&A. Some key things about expireds is that if we want to get more listings, just a market that's disrupted offers opportunity. It just has to be, well, what's your focus? So if you want to get listings, plenty of homes don't sell because of poor marketing, poor pricing, whatever that is. And so you get an opportunity to reach out to people with a chance to make money if you get the job done. But they might be hostile to you reaching out to them initially, because most people, when they hire an agent, they already in their mind are moving 6 months, 3 months, 2 weeks, depending on what the market cycle is. So folks that have expired in the market may not like you calling them or reaching out to them. They're, in mourning, anger, whatever you call it, but they just didn't get what they wanted. So the big challenge is, regardless of what the market's doing, is if you do reach out to people, in order to gain thick skin to be able to do this, there's two key things. One is to start small. Don't overwhelm yourself with a market area or a number of people you're going to try to call. Because if you get a lot of no's, eventually you can go, well, these people are mean, they suck, expireds, whatever. Great money to be made with expireds, as long as you realize that you're trying to find those people that do want to move and will respect you. And you just have to have compassion. So if you have compassion, you can deal with people being nasty to you on the phone. And I've been threatened. No one's ever followed through yet. And I've, going on 20 years in this racket. So when I'm reaching out to an expired person, I've already looked at the property from Land Voice, the service I subscribe to, say, okay, this is what expired in this zip code. And so I'll look at a property, cursory glance on the MLS, and then call. And the reason I do that is because if I do reach that person, I want to know what I'm talking about. I don't want to reach them, they're excited, and they go, well, I don't know the property. So the challenge with this, to make it sustainable, is to keep the area small enough and keep your workload small enough so that you'll continue to do it. If you grab too much, it's easy to get burned out and then you won't get the results. So that's one key thing, starting small. And the second thing, most important, is if that previous agent made a mistake, or you can see their pictures, they didn't use a pro, whatever fault is there, when you reach out to that person and you're offering your services, you have to be immaculate. You have to be like super agent. So you really have to have your act together. I recommend having a checklist. What are these things I want to be able to promote as far as my marketing team? This is how we do things. But you will be held accountable and create enemies if you don't get the job done because you drop the ball. If it doesn't sell because there's still pricing challenges, that's a different story. So if everything was excellent, you called them when you said you would on a weekly basis, or texted, whatever, all these promises you make, you have to overserve the client and have excellent marketing. And if you do that, even if things don't go well, you tend to get another round, or you actually accomplish the mission. And the second thing is, do you get buyers from these good properties? That's another story. Gary teaches you all about that. So you have to know what you're talking about. You have to know your market, and you have to do what you say you're going to do. Those are sort of three key things. So as far as anything else, and we can get into the source of the data if you want from Land Voice, because Chad should be on here. But I think I'll just open it up to questions. You know, what do you guys, what, pick a market. If there's a volunteer, let me know where you're at and tell me, do you see expireds? Do you want them? Or what kind of market do you think you're in right now?
Hi, my name is Henry.
Hi, Henry.
I'm in the New York market. Expires, definitely. I respect what you said. You have to show some empathy. In New York, it's a little different. There's really no empathy. I think for me, what the barriers coming to me is just really trying to get a good script to not be demanding, but also be understanding. It's like kind of like that balance. And it's just really to try to convey that we are trying to do the right thing by them, if that makes sense.
So are you in New York City, or are you out? Where are you at, Henry?
New York City. New York City.
Yeah, there's some edge there. I get it. When I was in the Coast Guard, Governor's Island was a Coast Guard base, and we would go there for training, in the middle of the harbor. It was awesome. It was a long time ago. So I think that in my experience, reaching out to folks, I would get, fear, worry, just whatever that was. And my success really just came down to nothing beyond calling people. Usually, you guys can tell I have a weird way of delivering stuff. I'm on the spectrum. So is my son. So my father was too, and he's on the Gemini project. So it's not like we aren't bright, but we're just kind of odd. And my success came from just reaching out to people. Hey, Henry, it's Dana from KW Commercial. I see your property at 123 Main Street just, came off the market. And immediately, if you could just throw a question in there, sometimes they'll work. Why do you think it didn't sell? And a lot of times they'll just puke up all this stuff about the agent or the market. So whatever that is, if they start talking, maybe it gives you a chance to explain that you might be that right person to do, to help them. One of the things I got good at to disarm people, and Gary can go into depth with this, is like risk reversal, guaranteed sales programs. We got all that kind of stuff. But what I was always good at, and for survival reasons, is I said, I can come out and meet you. I'm not bringing I'm not going to put you on the market. I'm not going to turn you into a client because I don't know enough about your situation.
Okay.
House. And so that can be disarming to some people because they say, we're all alike. Well, let me come see the house. Maybe there's something that I'm not noticing on the MLS. So if they can realize you're a human and you're really willing to do the work. And once again, this isn't about, 10 for 10. It's about, can you get 1 to 2 extra listings a month? And if that makes sense, if you like that idea, then I'm saying, yeah, you're doing 90 minutes a day, Monday through Friday, chasing, following up, whatever it is you want to call it for these people. And you build up that book of business, and then you get referrals because you get the job done and you stay in contact. But back to the edge of folks from the city, I think that it's going to be more challenging. And so if you are able to break that ice, and you can reach out to me afterwards, maybe I can help brainstorm. I've got nothing to sell, and I'm a commercial broker now, but I can help you with this. But I just think it's the main thing is you have that list of people and you're calling and you're reaching out. And if they're angry at you that day, maybe you call them the next day and say, hey, maybe you had a lot of agents calling, sorry about that. But the reason I'm calling is I specialize in this area and here's what I can help with. So you can just keep adding to that. But you're going to be angry or heartbroken, or maybe something bad's happening because the house didn't sell. So it's easy to get offended. For me, I can get pissed off instantly. It's one of my many bad traits. But these people, the ones that need your help, dude.
Right. Thank you so much.
Welcome, Henry.
Yep. Hey, Dana, now when you're first starting out with expires, you mentioned you call them individually, but do you set yourself up on a search So that anytime a property goes to expired status, you get notified right away, just like you get notified on something that goes active or
Yes.
sold or pending. Okay.
And that's where my recommendation is picking a small enough area where it's not overwhelming when something gets listed, because you actually want to know what's happening within that market. And so that's a great question, Gary, in that if you bring this to the next level, you're not just using the MLS to alert you when something got listed or went pending or sold. Like in Maine, I mean, you can plug in the entire state. And I've sold stuff. I've had referrals down East Maine. I'm known as that guy. If the job didn't get done, I would get crazy referrals, and I'd have to show up. And it's like, I'm back in the Coast Guard. We're going to come rescue you. But having that search set up, the MLS to automatically let you know what's happening in that zip code. And what I'm going to say is, I don't recommend doing multiple zip code. Do something small enough that's manageable. If you're getting 2 to 3 new properties a day that are listed, 3 or 4 in 30 days, you're not going to know what was there if there's too many. So however you can manage and just start to know the rhythm of that market. So when you call, so Henry specifically, when you call and say, okay, on 42nd Street and this is what just happened. When you know that, even when they want to hang up, you can say, well, 3 properties just came on over here. And this one, if you can slide that in before the door slams shut, then that's going to help. So that's where I've gone from being one person doing this to hiring ISAs, having too many leads, running around crazy, going back to, if I want to get 1 to 2 listings a month to add to my referral business coming in, add to my direct market, whatever those things are, then I really recommend you look at this as more of a specialty within a market area. And I'm also going to say, don't leverage it out. You be the one that still carries wood, carries water and cuts wood type thing. When we look at, some of you guys might be recovering Keller Williams agents from the Millionaire Real Estate Agent, that book. I don't believe the 7th level stuff when it comes to all aspects of the business. I think there's certain things that you still need to do. So for me, I'm comfortable with that lead generation, or that's part of my job. Now, maybe it's only 30 minutes a day, but if you keep it small enough and you own a market where you know what's happening, that's when people might start listening to you more. You do a monthly YouTube video about a specific zip code or type of property. Any of these things Gary can help you with. But specifically going back to expires, these people already raised their hands and said, we want an agent. It's not the same as chasing a FSBO. FSBO is smarter than you all day long, right? That's what they think. The person that expired with an agent just hates us because we're agents. We didn't get the job done. We're not all the same. Some of us are lucky enough to work with Gary. We've got great training. We've got a great network of folks. But seeing what gets listed that day, those automatic reports from the MLS are a great way to start. The next level is if you are getting busy and you want to instantly have the phone numbers and the mailing addresses of the owners, which they might be non-owner occupied, whether you're using RealFlow, I know you guys have some cool tools. For me, as an expired hunter, it was Land Voice all day long. I used multiple systems, dialers, the whole bit. It finally got down to, I would have however many people to call, I'd call them one at a time, and I'd always leave a message. Hey, it's Dana from KW Commercial. See this expired. And the reason I always leave a message is because I want them to start remembering me. The people that drive me nuts that coach this stuff are like, don't leave a message, and you just keep calling. They'll see the number or they'll have multiple phones. It gets crazy. You can have one phone, call people and not be a jerk. Don't call them late at night. Don't call them first thing in the morning. You're not going to win all the time, but if you're steady at it, you're going to gain, especially now with people losing their minds in the business. Commercial real estate went off a cliff months ago. And now with the, oh no, how do buyer agents get paid? It's just more opportunity for you guys. So to dovetail what Gary was saying, that if you want to take this to the next level and have the phone numbers, that's where a service like Land Voice comes in. Here's the property that expired. Here's the owner's information. Here's the owner's phone number, perhaps not a tenant.
So Dana, do you call expireds like the day they're expired, or do you wait a few days? Because I've read that they get bombarded with agent calls as soon as it's expired, and it really pisses them off and turns them off. So what is your suggestion?
You're not going to win every time. So what I say is call. And in addition to calling, if you can provide something that gets to them in the mail within a couple of days, that's good. But if you got a small enough market, what would impress you if 100 hammerheads call the same day? What's nobody going to do except you, because you actually want to win and you're a nice guy and you can actually physically get to the property? And drop off what? Hey, here's what sold last 30 days, if I can help in any way.
Mm-hmm.
So mail is going to take 1 to 2 days. So this is where I'm getting back to, if you have a small enough area and you drive the area, you know the area, that if it was me, I would be showing up with some kind of deliverable that would show that I'm different and I provide more value. So you do it all. You call and you mail, and I would show up on day one, just put something on the steps. You can't put it in the mailbox, whatever that is. I don't think you're going to have much competition. Now, they still may not like you for whatever reason. You're just looking for the ones that do, and that will listen to you when you do that room by room review, or however you want to like look at the market. Say, well, here's what we would like to do. If you become a client, we're going to have professional photos. We're going, whatever that stuff is. You know, I published a book in 2014, How to Sell a Home That Didn't Sell the First Time. I still use some of that stuff, and my competition doesn't use it all. And it's old stuff. And of course, we got new. But I think that's where, for me, one of the lessons was being able to drive to the house as well. That, yes, some of the people are not going to want to deal with any agents for a while. They just want to wait. The people that win are the ones that get it listed right away.
Yeah. And something else too, guys, that think, what's the number one reason why a property doesn't sell and goes expired? And I know there's lots of reasons, like it was dated, it was in a bad area, it had deferred maintenance, all this stuff. But the one thing that ties it all together is the price. So it's always the price relative to something else, you know? So, so having said that, Dana, I'm like we used to make a play on those words and say, I understand your house didn't sell. I imagine you're not too happy right now. However, we're really good at selling houses. We do a lot of data gathering before we ever take on a listing, and we did that for your property. And here's what we came up with. And I'm sure the other agent's a fine person. We don't ever want to speak ill of another agent. However, this is what we would have done, and here's our average days on market. You ever do anything like that? Like,
yes.
Be polite and professional, but let them know that chances are a mistake was made on the pricing. And reality, guys, is a lot of times it's the client, because they're like, they just have it set in their mind because a neighbor's house sold, for $300,000, but their neighbor's house had a new kitchen. So if you could talk about that, Dana, like have you ever had that situation? How do you address it, and kind of mock up a conversation? That would be good too, if you don't mind.
Well, yeah, part of that is that what I got good at telling people is that I'm not quite sure where you need to be price wise. I haven't seen your house, and I'm just trying to get that appointment. And so I would share, say you might be priced, you might be overpriced. I'm not sure, I haven't seen it, but I do see that there were some marketing aspects that weren't addressed, whether it's the write-up or pictures, or we had we had crazy stuff, but I would be able to go, here's all the things we can do for you. If we're going to keep it at the price you were at, and if it seems reasonable, I might say that I think it's priced a bit high, but here's what I can do. I can give you maximum marketing. Here's what we'll do. And we'd always give it to them in writing, say, these are the things we're going to do. And after 30 days, then we're going to recommend we do this with a price. And the reason that comes in handy, and then when you list it to have a post-dated price reduction, is because you're giving them what they want. They don't really know what the price should be, but they know that if you didn't advertise in the newspaper, because you say people don't read newspapers anymore, and they do. Like I read I'm a boomer, I read the Wall Street Journal in print and online. So if you want to sell a house in Portland, Maine, you're going to want to make sure it's in the Portland Press Herald, because folks read that, and you want the online version. But a lot of agents will say, well, we don't need to do that. It's all there. Whatever that spiel is. And I realize it costs money to play this game, but if you do it right, then you win more. And then you become known. You've got the best marketing, because we don't really know what the price should be. None of us on this call, I think, are appraisers, and appraisers tend to be better at pricing than us, I think, most of the time. But what if it is marketed? What if you do provide excellent marketing? And if it's going to be like an extra $1,000 that you're paying, if you factored that in, that you want your sign in the ground here, because this is a market that you would pay somebody $1,000 perhaps to list a house to make the money. That's where you have to, you can't go. I've done multiple, I've, in 07, 08, and 09, when Gary and I were I was in multiple counties. I had clients I didn't meet. But back to, if you want something you can sustain, if you keep it small enough and you get known as you're that go-to person in that market, yeah, we put you in the newspaper. We do an open house, and it's not just an hour. We do like whatever those things are that makes a seller's innards, their soul, their heart feel taken care of. Then it makes the bad news, if price is the issue, which most of the time it is, because there's value on every piece of real estate, right? So it just helps them get over that. But if you're not willing to spend money and do things and show the work, when they see you doing an open house, and you can quote all you want, well, less than 1%, I get it. But if you're good, like I was when I was doing this, I got buyers and I fed my buyer agent. I would be at the open house, dressed to kill, working it, show up early and stay late, and a bazillion signs, too many signs. If I did an open house, man, it wasn't just 2 signs and I showed up in a hurry. It was like, there was nothing else. It would ruin a Sunday. I would tell my friend, I'm not just going to do 2 hours and it's going to be like daddy's home. Like, no, dad's going to work today. It's a full day, because now I'm on stage in front of people who want to buy houses, and I'm working back to non-leverageable, the team leader at the open house. Now, I know this goes against some people that, well, I don't need to do this. And I've gone back and forth. I like my way now. It's humble and it makes a lot of money. And so if you are the person, if you're going to work for your client and they see that, you're helping, they see you working. And it's not so adversarial about price. Now, could it still be? Yeah. And that's why I always 2-step somebody before they become a client. I want to make sure my spidey sense is connected properly, that I know that I've got a good chance of serving them, investing money, getting a good return, getting them what they want, earning referrals from them because we did a good job. Doesn't always work, but if you rush or you leverage your way out of this, it can damage your business.
Yep. Hey, now what about the auto dollars? I know that, several years ago, a lot of us had auto dollars, and I can't even remember them all. There was probably at least 3 or 4, I think we tried.
Yeah.
And some are pretty good, but what are your thoughts on that? Like, today versus back then, and obviously there were some changes that came out this past spring, and I can't remember all the details, about the rules about dialing, and I think texting was in there too, but have you ever used an auto dollar, and what was your success like there versus just individual dialing,
So as an expired guy, I had used Vulcan 7 and a bunch of other. Mojo was popular. Landvoice, even within Landvoice, they got so many tools that what I decided to do was that if you have an ISA, If you're paying someone typically overseas, they're not making, and it's dialing for dollars. And then you'd get appointments and the quality, you know, the kill ratio was all about how many leads can get thrown to me. So back to the work of the thoroughbred style of lead gen that I recommend for you going after expireds. I don't recommend the dialer. I recommend there's 10 to 20 people perhaps on a daily basis you're calling, and you're calling one at a time, and you're not overwhelming yourself, and you're leaving a message. And I think that over time that's how you win. It's not fancy, and it is you doing the work. You know, somebody that's actually likes sales. But the full-time ISA, and we know what Frank Kleist, I'm trying to think, 1,000 calls a day, all those people, we've met them at different events. For me, it came back to what market do I just want to like be 100% on when it comes to my day job. The business could be all over the place with extra agents, but where was I going to focus? And that's what I did. And that's now with commercial real estate, with that transition, doing that, to just know, like Bob Knakle, the most successful real estate broker in New York City. Henry, you should reach out to him on LinkedIn, Bob Knakle, Knakl. He's
thank you.
I mean, he's got this room. He knows everything about every piece of dirt within, I forget the area in New York City. And during the pandemic, that was the first time he was able to like walk he just always thought someday it'd be great to go walk this area and see, and he did. His whole team did. And now they've got this room somewhere in Manhattan that I hope to see at some point, where every piece of property, every detail is in this room. And the guy is a workaholic. I mean, he kind of doesn't work Sundays now, but this is like the absolute number one broker for New York City. And he knows that. I'm like, dude, you know, and that's where that work comes in, that you can leverage. You want technology. If you want to hunt expired, you use Land Voice to get better data. It's still not perfect, but it's all about, and then you're still driving and walking that area, and you see the new stuff popping up on the MLS. You don't need to know who those folks are, but you need to know what's showing up. If you know that market, and you own it, and it's not really leverageable, you can still have a team and be doing stuff in other places, but there comes a point where like, oh no, this is me. I got to do this. Me. You're working.
Thank you so much.
Yep. Hey, Dana, did you learn from other people too on expires? Or was it like a course you took or a book you read? Or, I mean, you mentioned the guy in New York City, but anybody that you got some good tips from?
I think I bought every book at Barnes and Noble when there was a Barnes and Noble in South Portland. When I got licensed in 2004, I just kept buying stuff. I've read and been coached by Dirk Zeller, who was good with expireds. I went through a lot and kind of came up with my own version. Even the Kinder Reese stuff that I think is NAEA's they still part of the EXP tribe?
Yep. Oh,
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when I was actually, I think at Remax, and I was paying to be part of NAEA and get coached by Kinder Reese. So everybody has their good ways or twists, but really what it came down for me is that it's not that complicated, and there's no magic. If you are going to physically, want to own a market, and you're going to take the time out of your day to drop off your marketing package. So call one that morning. Hey, Jane Doe, it's Dana from KW Commercial. See, your home came off the market. But just going to drop something off later on, can help you understand why what might be the reason why it didn't sell, whatever that is. But I left a message, I dropped off something, and the next day I'm following up. Though that's, that came from me going, how do I do this? Because there are plenty of books. So it really comes down to, there's no magic to that. It's just work, calling people, providing an item of value. If you want to use Brian Buffini, his terminology, if you're doing Buffini coaching, you send a personal note. But whatever it is, you just need to keep providing stuff, but keep it where it's manageable so you actually are that market expert. You don't need to be a market expert everywhere, but I think going after expireds, you definitely want to be the best and be able, like Gary was saying earlier, you start bringing evidence of success. Well, here's what, well, we do things a little bit differently. People love it when you advertise and you market. And if you are good at advertising, you pay attention when Gary's teaching about direct response, you're going to get leads that you can monetize. And if you're too busy because you're a team leader, fine, you refer it out. But you got to do direct response. I'm not saying just put an ad in. I have more URLs, probably over 1,000 now. Landing page, all that. Why? Because it works. And so if you do the direct response marketing, you're advertising, you're not just wasting money, you are spending money in advertising in an area you want to keep showing up. And so if you do that, you're stacking. The compound effect, Darren Hardy, that book's somewhere in here, right?
Mm-hmm.
So as far as courses, I think if you have the tools, when you're going to start calling, you got questions, you can certainly ask me. But like Henry was saying, like folks in New York are a certain way, folks in Maine, what part of Maine? I'm in Bridgeton, very country. If you want to hunt and fish, they do that here. I'm not that guy. My business by walking in places dropped when I moved here because I'm more of a city person and I'm a surf bum. So now I'm back in Portland, business is growing. But as far as courses, I recommend, you buy a couple of books. But the most important thing is you don't have to overanalyze this. Pick a small area, start calling, drop stuff off, and outwork people. Let people see, hey, I'm just over here, listen, this property, whatever it is you got to do, a lot of the stuff is free too. I would just say, have a checklist like a pilot. So don't keep it all in your head.
Did you know that you can participate in class every Monday? We call it Monday Night Live, 7 p.m. Eastern, with me and dozens of other investor agents from around the country, in fact, the world. Every Monday, totally free. No selling, no recruiting, just straight up education on anything and everything in real estate. And we have a lot of good guests coming on once or twice a month, bringing in expertise on subjects like how to buy a house with crypto, okay? How about them apples? What about AI? How's AI affecting our business? How about the metaverse, blockchain processing? We're already using it in title work. So come on to Monday Night Live. Be ready to take notes and ask questions because it's live and engaging, and you get to participate by asking questions and meeting others. So we'll see you there. Go to realestatewithgarywilson.com. Click on the resource tab, drop down, and you'll see Monday Night Live. And in there, you can see one of the most recent classes. But more importantly, you can register for class as many as you want going up to like the end of the year, I believe. So in any case, do that. We'll see you on Monday Night Live. Look forward to meeting you in person. Take care.
Yep. So remember, guys, there'll be other agents calling expireds as soon as they pop up. There'll be agents that have an automated postcard system that goes out. But a couple of things that Dana mentioned is dropping something off. There's not a lot of agents that actually will go to the property, and leave a packet of information. I mean, I never taught this because it wasn't my expertise. That's why Dana's on, because I learned what I learned from Dana, but the other thing too is, the team letter, we call it the team letter, Dana. It's just you probably remember, I think I gave it to you in the past. It's like 6 sentences. It has the words you and your 11 times in there. There's no letterhead. We don't talk anything about our credentials. It's all about the property owner, and it's a neutral letter. We don't mention their circumstances, and they don't even know who we are till they go to the signature block, Right. So that going out, they'll get that in 2 or 3 days, and it's going to be completely different than anything else we're getting in the mail, So, but dropping something off, that's something that it's like Henry Ford said, success is, half of it's just showing up, 90% of it.
Yeah.
And a lot of people won't do it because going by a property looks like work, and you got to leave your house and hop in the car and all that. But it's the kind of thing that it pays. That you have a much higher conversion rate when you actually drop something off than if you did just straight call it, you know? I'm
Absolutely.
not saying that's all you should do. You should do at least 3 of those things. I mean, was there a magic formula, Dana, like a combination, so many phone calls, so many letters, and so many stop bys, or, was there, or did you just, depending on what your schedule would allow, or what was, did you ever track that stuff?
No, it was, and I regret not doing that. What I noticed is there was never really the success wasn't based on one thing other than
Yep.
trying and consistently trying to reach people. But what I started learning later on, which made things easier, was focusing on the compound effect, like dropping stuff off and providing, sometimes, if one of the things you could print off was, hey, here's, and it might be, someone might not be happy about you dropping off something that shows what sold in the last 30 days. Okay, well, but what if they did like it? Oh, well, this is what sold. So you're just trying, because no matter, it's like a fight. You can train, like Mike Tyson said, once you're punched in the mouth. That's why now it's like, if you want to do expireds, just do it. Get the data, make the call, leave a message, be nice. And the rest of it's going to be, if you can track the numbers and go, well, it was a 7th postcard, whatever that is, as long as you're focused. I think what's more important is just come up with that key area. If you don't nail anything, you'll win. There's the phone call. The phone is the most effective way. But what's impactful is you dropping something off so that they can tell it's you. And you say, I dropped something off. That changes. That's much different. But I think that them seeing that, and once again, to say that it helps when you say, we don't advertise like this because it doesn't work, and the seller believes that, you already have a problem. And now you're trying to convince them. If you can say, yeah, I can see why you might think your home would sell if we do this. And I'm not saying full page ad, but if it's reasonable, if you make enough money per deal, if your success rate, all you're going to do when you put that half page ad, however big that ad is, you're going to make money on the leads that come from that. So when you can play at that level and you take this property on and it's overpriced for 30 days, you're not sure if it's overpriced, it's under market. And that's what I would tell people. I'm not quite sure, but I say that the marketing could have been better. Here's what I recommend. And so that would come off to some people as arrogance. And then I would sometimes, and I wrote a book on this too. Arrogant or, so you're not going to win. It's about, can you get 1 to 2 extra listings a month? So I would say, don't overanalyze it. If you choose to do it, then just make sure you do what you say you're going to do, have a checklist, and stay on top of that market. Don't go big until you can handle. If you can handle 4 hours a day, just lead gen, and then that's fine. Me, not anymore.
Yep.
So I got.
Yeah. Hey guys, I can't see who was on because I'm on my phone doing this, but what I want to do is, if you've ever tried expires before, so it's probably more of the veterans I'm speaking to here, and you couldn't get it to work, or you gave up, or somebody got really angry with you and it just kind of knocked you off your horse. If you could speak up, I just want to go into your example, and let's see if we can do a CSI investigation on it, even if it's from 10 years ago, because I know when I tried it, it was hard.
It is.
Yeah. But did you ever try it, like Tom or Rob, Kathy, the veterans? Have you ever tried expires before?
I have, Gary. I had pretty good luck with expires. I got a lot of my business from expires, and did like Dana. Just I'd call them up, ask them, hey, I'm looking for the owner at 123 Main Street. Make sure you're talking to the owner in case it's somebody else. And then just say, hey, I'm Andre from ABC Realty. I just noticed that your home on 123 Main Street it's showing as off the market. Are you still, or it expired? Are you still looking to sell your home with a with a question, you know, are you still looking to sell that home? And they'll normally tell you, yeah, I want to, but it didn't sell or whatever. Or no, they're taking it off the market for whatever reason. But usually they say, yeah, I still want to sell it. And I'll say, well, geez, it looks like a great house. I mean, from what I can see on the local listing service, any reason why it didn't sell? Like, you know, kind of like Dana said, with question, you know, your tonality is you're curious, you're wondering why it didn't sell. It looks like a great house. Now, you know, in your mind, it was because it's overpriced or whatever the case is. And they'll tell you, well, a lot of times they blame the agent, the marketing, or whatever it is. And then, you know, you never say nothing negative about anyone. But I would say, you know, I don't know what your agent did or didn't do. I mean, it looks like a great property in MLS, but I can tell you what I do. I have, and you kind of share with them quickly what you offer. You know, if whatever your stats are, if you know your stats well, that you can say, well, that your home sell at a certain amount of time frame faster than the average market, you know, average days on market, whatever's true and positive that you can say about how quickly your home sell. And then you have to have, you know, a unique selling proposition. We would say, I don't know what, you know, the other people are doing, but, you know, these are my numbers, and we actually put our money where our mouth is, and we guarantee to sell your house in X amount of days or do X. Or, you know, with all the investors that you guys have, we can guarantee to have an offer in 72 hours or X. And you gave them some kind of offer that no one else ever did. And that usually got a good conversation going and got you in the door.
Absolutely. Yeah. Unique selling proposition, you know. Yeah. I still have sign writers.
Yeah. You know, it doesn't have to be your house guaranteed or I'll buy it. It could be I'll sell it for free, or I'll sell it for, you know, whatever. There's got to be, I always said that I put my money where my mouth is, and I guarantee X or I'll do X. And you just got to follow through. But given that unique offer, we normally got in the door if they were still interested in selling.
Absolutely. We all, you know, that was part of it. And now with the market, with this shift of sorts we're having again, it just creates more opportunity to show up and go, we're here to help. You know?
Yeah. Well, it's already starting to change. I mean, I've speaking to an agent today. Her mother has a property in Florida, actually in Port Charlotte, Andre, not too far from you. And beautiful home.
Close,
I looked at the pictures, looked at the listing, and I was like, holy smokes, this place is spectacular. And the price is right in the right market range, but it's just sitting there 2 months and they've only had 2 showings. And I think, you know, now granted it's Florida, so a lot of people know the cost of insurance has gone up. Of course, another big storm had just come through. But those factors are usually only temporary with the storms. The cost of insurance is, not considered a temporary thing. But what the bottom line is a lot of those homes are secondary homes.
Right.
And when the market gets tough or the economy gets tough, people don't let go of their primary homes first. They let go of the secondary homes first, most cases. So, but those are the ones that generally will end up going to expired when that stuff starts to happen. So you just have to, the reason we're talking about this subject tonight is, number one, it came up a month or two ago. A couple agents asked if we could have a class on expires, and I said, I know just a guy. And it's not like you want to go change your strategy. You just want to add this to your tool belt, your box of tools that you have to work with, because it's beginning and it's easy to implement. So Andre, when you did that years ago, 2 questions. Did you do the same thing? Just set yourself up on an automated search when something changed status to E for expired? You got notified. That was the first part of the question. And do you remember one in particular, like where somebody just unfortunately knocked you off the horse? They were they were having to, yeah. Then what did you do to combat that, or anyone you were able to turn around just because of your work ethic and being persistent?
Yeah, it's all about consistency. I mean, sometimes they were ugly. Not that often that they were kind of ugly. If they were upset, they were upset at their agent or the situation. they didn't normally take it out on me so much because I was just, we're just trying to be super nice, and I always complimented them on something I could pull out of the MLS, say, oh man, it looks like a great house, the backyard looks great, whatever, and compliment them on the house. So, they usually were pretty nice. But if they were, hey, we're just taking it off the market, we're kind of sick of having people come through the house, we're just going to wait a while, then yeah, you would just put it back into your system and follow up with them in 3 months, every 3 months to see where they're at. And you get them, 3, 6, 12 months down the road, because you're the one that was, stayed consistent trying to help them with market updates. And you weren't calling to bug them, you were just giving them market updates and sharing information with them and keeping in front of mind. And as far as having systems in place, really, we got a list. Basically, it's just showing all the new properties that came on the market and expired properties just from MLS. I just pulled it off MLS every week, and I wasn't calling the same day. I just depend on my schedule. Sometimes I could get them, the same day. Sometimes it was a day or so later. But I was just being consistent and making sure you did reach them. And I did like Dana as well. I mean, if you could get a package out to them, if they had interest and you couldn't get an appointment right away, to go out and take a look at it, that's what I try to do, is just go out and make an appointment, say, hey, it looks great from pictures, but I got to come and take a look at it so I can really get a good view of the extras that you've done to the property that might not even be showing here, to make sure we get the max amount of value for you. But if you couldn't get an appointment, then yeah, definitely mail them. I used to have like a testimonial booklet that I would mail people that had hundreds of testimonials from my past clients that said, yeah, I had my house listed, with another company for a year. And, Andre came and listed and put his advanced marketing program and his entire marketing system together, and sold in, 10 days for full price or whatever. And you put a bunch of those in there from real people that are real stories. And I live in a small area. Well, if there's enough of them, people will know some of those people.
Yeah. You start getting market share.
Yep.
Yeah. And I would tell them too, I would put a list of, I had a couple of hundred names and telephone numbers of my past clients that gave me permission to do that. And say, here's names and numbers of a lot of my clients. Feel free to pick up the phone and call any of them and see if, how I took care of them or whatever. And I don't think hardly anyone would call them, but just having a list of, 200-300 names and telephone numbers saying to call them was, did his job.
Well, it means you're willing to step up and go, this is the truth, and here's how we do things. And a lot of people won't do that.
Right.
Yep.
Can I answer your question, Gary?
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. If you think about where we are in the marketplace, clearly, if there's a volume is low, that means we need to encourage more people to sell. These people already have indicated they want to sell. They want to sell the house. Yes, they're disappointed, but you don't know their circumstances until you call them. You just have to have the conversation. I like what Dana said too, is you don't have to go for the sale on the first phone call. You just want to make the appointment. Just because they're going to ask you questions. They say, well, what do you think? What should we do? What do you think of the property? That's when you say, really, that in order to do this correctly, I actually need to put eyes on the property. I need to see it so I can give you a fair and accurate estimate of what you should be shooting for. Number one. Number two is what possibly went wrong the first time, so we don't repeat that the next time. And it's winter trust, and it's it's a numbers game. You just have to wake up. You got to wake up earlier than the next guy, step up to the plate to start swinging the bat before the next guy does. And that's how you win in this market. It's going to turn. Every market does. It goes up, it goes down. The people that succeed are the ones that never stop taking action. You just cannot. You have to wake up every day, hit the ground running, make every moment count. It's not like you're killing yourself. You're just being more efficient, using every moment, every working hour, not every waking hour. But if you have your vision, goals, action plans, and you set aside 2 hours in the morning and 2 hours in the afternoon and 1 hour in the evening to work, make sure you really work. And you can't be afraid. You have to pick up the phone. You just have to call. So same thing with FISBOs. We'll say that for another day. But hey, does anybody else have any questions for Dana? Or is anything if you've tried expires, I definitely want to see what your experience was, because we can try to solve, problems you've had with expires in the past. You tried it, didn't work. There's going to be an answer for it, but you got the right guy on the phone, on the Zoom call here. So, and again, I can't see the chat box, guys, so I'm not sure if there's other questions out there. But this is the one where I know Dana personally, so I know of his success, and I know what I learned from him. This is your, one opportunity when I have to spend $2,000 on a training program, to get the straight scoop. Actually, let's do this. Who's interested in trying this out? Just type in the chat box, I am, or raise your hand so that Tom and Andre and Dana can see your hand raised. And then tell me who's out there that's interested. And I'll give you a second. This will be the Jeopardy. Do, 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 do. How am I doing on that? Do, 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 do.
I see in the chat, Anna said I am. Or
Yeah.
Jeanette, I guess Jeanette did as well.
Yep.
PF, Henry, Perez, Sam, Arfin,
Melinda.
Melinda. Those
Okay.
are
And
Michael.
there's a lot of different ways to do it. I would send a letter first and let them know I am not looking to list your property. I'm an expert in the area, and I help people figure out what needs to be done to make their house sell. Feel free to give me a call if you would like this free service. And I assure them, I says, I'm not looking for your listing. And when might send out 20 or so, and I might get one response. But that one response, I may need to talk with them on the phone first, but I put it on them to create the curiosity. It says, what's Tom going to do for free for me? And I was able to convert, a couple of those into listings, over time. But sometimes it doesn't, and they'll list with someone else. But I've also gotten referrals from people who've ended up listing with someone else, but then later on they say, Tom was really looking out for me. So there's a lot of ways to do it with your personality.
Yep. Another thing too, Tom, I love the approach, because even when people say, well, what's in it for you? The answer is easy. Say, you know what? I am an expert in the area. This is how I, further my brand and build and maintain healthy business relationships, so that when the time is right for you, you'll think of me first, and just be candid with them and say, that's exactly why I'm doing this.
Yep.
It's just part of the business. Instead of spending money on radio and television ads, I'd rather spend my time with you building a relationship. Hard to argue with that. Okay, guys, well, it's 8 o'clock. Oh, go ahead. Yeah.
So what I was going to say, with this all leads back into where I would also, I guess appeared somewhat disarming, going, I'm not going to list your home. I never do that. Like, meet with you, and if we decide later, just to kind of remove that pressure. It's like,
yep,
the guaranteed sale, what Andre was talking about. We're providing, we're doing something different. most of the folks calling up want to list that property right now when they don't know what they're doing, know what they're talking about. We don't know what, we need to see it. So if we explain, we don't have all the answers, but we're pretty smart. Yeah, we don't have all, it's just like, well, if it makes sense, then we can discuss the next step. So I think that's, you know, that's another way of doing it.
Yeah, I have a
Yeah.
question. Thank you. You may have already answered this, and I may have been checked out mentally when you said it. But one question in two versions. Have you seen what day of the week you've been more successful in getting in touch with the expires? Was it like on the weekend or during the week? And the other thing, similar question, or the same question differently. What season of the year do you notice that they were more willing to pick up the phone and relist or just follow through?
So,
Thank you.
on the first, it just came up. When I would do that, try to go, what's the optimum time? Then what happened is I would forget, or something, I would like come up with an excuse. So for me, what I'm the best at, probably the best at in this whole group, is avoiding work. And so what I had to do was remove it. I just had to like dumb it down. You know, I was enlisted for 21 years, man. I need it simple. And that was where if I made it simple so I couldn't overthink it, didn't have too many tools, just a telephone, that made it easy. And if I, you know, and if it was in my market area, like I said, I went beyond, but to bring it back. So I don't know. I'm sure there's data that could say, well, this is the best time of day. For me, it's just like pick up the phone, and maybe you want your work to fit your schedule. So there's been times in my life where I'm like, I've got this block of time. Well, maybe it's not optimum, but it's when I would do it. And so I think whatever it takes to get you to do it is number one, and then you can become scientific afterwards. As far as time of year, we all have probably heard, I'm in snow country, and well, you know, we want to wait till the spring, and I've sold houses during the Super Bowl. You know, I can't think of a time where I didn't sell. So people will use that as an excuse. Your job, once again, is to get that appointment. And then if it makes sense, if you want to turn them into a client, you know, you're simpatico, then it's like, okay, we can do this. And so I would just say both of them, as you do more, you might come up with data and go, here's the best time of year. But houses, people are always buying and selling houses for reasons, because we're born, we die, we get married, we get divorced, we get jobs. It doesn't end. There's never there's just more of. So there's, oh, well, why wait till spring? Well, if you put it on now, you know, and it's January 1st, there's less competition. So however you spin it, you know.
Great, thank you.
Anna, jump in.
It's actually just me, Jeanette.
Oh.
I have a question, Dana. So I'm actually exactly like you. I'm like the biggest avoider of doing things that are not so fun for me, and I don't consider calling expireds fun. So how did you
go
get
surfing and snowboarding, right?
I mean, I'd rather do literally anything else. I'd rather wash dishes than do that. So I guess my question is, you said you started out with the phone. Is there like, do you recommend like Vulcan 7 or something like very, very simple? Like what simple things should I start like that I could do like tomorrow that I can talk to like 10, 20, whatever you said, 10, 15 people a day and like be successful?
Well, so as far as tools for me, I'd use Vulcan 7 and a bunch, and RedX, et cetera, et cetera. The company that worked best for me was Land Voice. The way they were friendly, that used to deal with knuckleheads like me, I guess. And I would call a lot. Well, how do I do this? How do I do that? But, you know, once I got it dialed in, I would have the zip code and the lead show up every day. And I would see, you know, John Doe, and I would call and leave a message. And then I would take that and put it back when before Top Producer got sold. It's kind of wonky now, but it was great. I would just put that person in, And maybe I'd call a second time that day, but whatever I did, I would track it and also remind myself to call the next day. So the easiest for me and the friendliest people I've dealt with are Land Voice, and I can get you guys Chad Bobo's contact. Unless Chad, are you on tonight? Maybe he's
No.
not.
No.
Okay. So Chad was always my inside guy at Land Voice. Who has the best data? I mean, all the companies will say this is what. So they were the easiest to work with, and they had plenty of other tools, call capture system, a dialer, so that if you were going to grow it, have multiple, and had someone that wanted to do this, then maybe you do. For me, I've just gone through expansion, contraction, and came up with something that I felt was something that would make it so I wouldn't want to step away from it. Because what I would do if something was distasteful, I would do it just like in the military, kept throwing stripes on. As a real estate agent, sometimes you get pulled back into that. So there'd be certain things that I didn't want to do, hand it off. Like I don't even know how to use Command, and I'm a KW agent. And I don't know how to use RealNex. I'm a commercial agent. I got people. I am not touching that. But I will do my own specific lead gen stuff. At least you guys have better tools at EXP. So I would say that I wouldn't even want you calling 10 people a day, maybe 5. Just keep it easy. Try Land Voice. If you don't like them, try the other folks. But I would keep it very simple. So
okay, yeah, I think that'll help me take the first step, and I think it'll snowball after that. But it's nice to hear that you've been, somewhat where I'm at, where you didn't want to do it, but you still ended up being very successful at it. So, okay.
Alrighty.
You don't have to want to do it, you just have to do
Yeah.
it. You don't have to want to make the phone calls, you just have to make the phone calls.
Yeah, and so you get rid of the time, if you just schedule in advance, then you sit, get your butt in the seat and do it. And that's why the more complicated, well, we want to do it on no. If you can do whatever days of the week you work, you just schedule that block of time and you're dialing for dollars. And that way, if you don't have to think about it, you're just going to do it. It's like exercising. Gary, I've got an exercise program I'll be rolling out, and it's going to be, you'll stick with it because of how I've created it. It's sort of like calling expired. Just keep it so it's within this box, and you don't go crazy. Oh, someday I'm going to hire. You can, but if you keep it so it's manageable, your tolerance builds up, your skill sets. When you start making money, something about calling expireds is more enjoyable when you've got a couple $100,000 in the bank because you've been calling expireds. Wonder why? Because this is all a head game. So keep it simple, small block of time. You want to grow it. Andre can help. Gary can help.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yep. Well, I always like the analogy of the campfire. Everybody likes a good roaring campfire, but that good roaring campfire didn't start off roaring right away. It started off when you light the little leaves and a little bit of paper, and then the kindling. Then you get a little twig and a bigger twig and a tiny little branch and a little bit bigger branch and a bigger branch and a small log. You start small. You don't light the whole big fire at once. You start small because you have to learn. And it's better to learn small, right? And small meaning small scale, small dollars, small energy. Learn small. And then when you figure out your own style, because the scripting, scripting isn't meant to be done verbatim. Sometimes it is. Sometimes it is verbatim, but sometimes it's just meant to give you a starting point. The conversation always takes on a life of its own. You have to be the bus driver. You got to make sure you're directing the conversation, and you do get better at that. It's a skill you develop. But ultimately, it's like dancing, and I stink at dancing. But one thing I know about dancing is I got to figure out how the other person's moving, and it's the same thing in a conversation. It already happens naturally. You don't have to think about it because you're born with that ability. And we all know it because we have conversations every day with other people. Just remember that all you need to do is start the conversation, and there's key things you want to gather information wise. You always ask if this is something you want to write down: who, what, where, when, how, why. always ask those kinds of questions because they're open-ended questions and it requires the other person to talk instead of just saying yes or no. If you're ever in doubt what to do or what to say or question ask one of those 5 questions. You know, you can do it on the fly and gradually you'll develop your own style. And it's not like this takes years. I mean, within a week of phone calls, your style is going to start to develop, you know, and the more you do it, becomes automatic. You don't even think about it. That's the biggest problem with all this is we probably overthink everything. You know, what if this, what if that? Well, just go ahead and call them. Then you'll find out. You're not going to get every single one. So you might as well start now, you know, get the ones you're not going to get out of the way. But I know we're past the hour, guys. It's 10 after, and I can stay on. If you guys have questions, I don't mind helping out. And Dana, you're welcome to stay too, but usually I'll leave the tail end for Q&A. Are there other questions though in the queue?
Let me just interject. I've got my new reading glasses and I've just responded to a couple chats. You guys can call me. I'll put my phone number down. I'll tell you, that's 207-749-3618. And just leave a message and I'll help you out. And I'll learn from it too. There. So I just put my phone number. That's my cell. And you notice it's kind of close to Gary's number. The last
isn't that crazy? Yeah.
That's how you can tell we're related.
Exactly. Well, plus the resemblance. I mean, we look almost like our identical twins, you know?
Yeah, my hair plugs came out though, and I'm like, what's up with that?
It's that pirate thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you guys have any other questions for now, or I'm sorry, could do the PowerPoint, and I didn't want to have I didn't want you guys tweaking because of the KW thing, so you get to see the train room. Half of you guys drank the KW Kool-Aid. Yeah, I like EXP very much. I think you guys are the tip of the spear.
Well, you did touch on it earlier. A lot of us are KW recoveries. I think that's what you said.
Yeah.
Expats.
Yes.
Expats, yeah. I still have a lot of family members in KW. That's how I call
it.
Yeah.
How can I reach you, PF? I want to recruit them.
All right. Sounds good. But thank you, Dana, so much. This is very inspirational to me. You know, I love that you really emphasize the chunking it down to small bite sizes.
Yeah, I think that's.
I have to confess, I tend to try to take the big shark bite as opposed to a little piranha bite.
Yeah, I do, and then I step back and go like, so I have I'm a work in progress.
Yep. Well, I'm going to issue a challenge to everybody here on the Zoom, and I can't see, unfortunately. But here's the challenge. I like to do this, Dana. After we learn a simple subject like this, is turning that MLS search on. Oh boy, what happened there? But turn on the MLS search on, so you get notified of expires when they pop up. It's easy to do, and it takes less than 60 seconds. But for those of you who said I'm interested, I'll challenge you tonight to turn on expires for yourself. You're likely to get, it's only Monday, so this week you're likely going to get one or a couple. And write it down. You're going to call every expired that comes up in your market this week. Now remember, some searches, hang on one second. Yep, this is where I'm going to get gas. Some searches will give you the backlog, whatever is already set to expired. You don't want to do that. You just want to set whatever comes up, whatever goes to an expired status. That's what you want. And again, you don't have to do it for me. Do it for yourself. Set yourself up to search. Make the commitment to column. Don't worry about the result. Just focus on the action. That's the magic is in the action. Right. So Anywho, that's my challenge. So if I got any takers, I'd like to hear the results. We can go over the results. Let's see, next Monday's the 13th. I'm not sure who's on the 13th, actually. Oh, by the way, the monthly team call. Remember, that is this Wednesday. Definitely be on, because we're doing a big event in January, okay? Online, with John Giggy, Shasteen, Gene, and I. We're putting together an entire marketing program that you guys are going to be able to use without doing any work. So we're going to kick that off, and we're going to start that this month. So make sure you're on this Wednesday night. By the way, next week is Deborah Razzo, and I didn't write the subject down, but that'll be next Monday. Please set up your one-on-ones too, guys. I think this week's probably pretty full, but next week should be pretty wide open. And one more reminder, remember, the week of Thanksgiving, I go to Germany with my dad and brother and sister for that week and the following week. I'll be available that Monday, the 20th, but that's pretty much it, except for, dire emergencies. We call it a fire, flood, and blood. If there's a fire, flood, or blood, it can call me. But if not, it hopefully can wait. So, okay, any final questions? Words of wisdom, thoughts?
I have one comment for the people in the Core Engage group. Thursday is our meeting at noon. Be there, please. Thank you.
Yeah. Remember, guys, Rob's doing this for you. We pay him. You don't have to pay him. If you've been notified that you're going to be working with Rob because you're a brand new agent, that's a requirement. All right. It's like having two coaches for the price of one. So take them up on it. So, okay. Did Dana already log off?
No, I'm still here.
Oh, there he is. Okay.
Past
Okay,
my
guys.
bedtime.
There you go. Yeah. Well, I'm going to go ahead and get going. I just pulled in to get some gas, and guess what? It's $2.98. Yep. I just crossed over Virginia, so that's a happy day for me.
There you go.
Mr. Frugal.
Where are you at? Are you
I just crossed it in. Nope, not quite. I'm not too far, maybe half hour from Danville. So
So are you going north or south?
North. Yep.
Oh, okay.
Yep. So I'll be home about 11:30, hopefully. So long day, but a good day,
Great.
So, well, listen, thanks everybody for pitching in. Dana, definitely
Thanks, Dana.
you, and yep. And
You.
Rob and Andre, and especially cousin Tom, for making sure we're actually on. So, but all right, guys, you have a wonderful night. I'll see you next Monday night. I'll see you this Wednesday night, and I'll see you on the one-on-ones. And hope to have a good night.
Thank you for watching this episode of Monday Night Live. Be sure to subscribe to our channel and go to realestatewithgarywilson.com to join our community and start building wealth today.